I wanted to say to the person who said to me, no, nothing will change under that. I said, first of all, I think it's a bit harsh on that, he didn't take office yet. The second thing is this, that really, I can imagine talking about a black slave in America, but we never had a black president in America. And that seems to me to be a fundamental change in the dynamics of the system. It seems to me you could say 45 years ago, Obama wouldn't have been outstanding president. We'd be lucky if he, in some states, even to be able to be voted. And if he did try and register to vote, he won't be lynched. That seems to me to be a fundamental change in the way we see things. And I just think we have to start with that, because I don't think one was wrong to say he had a nice cup of tea and cheer away for Obama, because I did exactly the same thing. I think if you don't understand what millions of people desire, it seems to me you cut yourself off from millions of people. I wanted to see him win, because I think anyone who really says they didn't, imagine what it would have been like the next day, on that Wednesday morning, if they came and had won. Would you really tell me you wouldn't have cared? It wouldn't matter to you one minute. It would have made your way you view the world. And for me, I just don't think I could say that. If with no hand on my heart, I could say that. The second point I'm going to make is the first part of the title of this meeting is America needs change. And I want to spell out why America needs change. I don't know if people have seen the unemployment figures released today from America. They were released last night on Friday, but they come out in Britain this morning. 533,000 jobs, 500,000 jobs have gone in November 2008. 500,000 in 1 month. It's the worst month since 1973. They are not confined to the finance sector, but right across manufacturing and right across the service sector. In fact, the only area where there's an increase in jobs right now is in government-sponsored schemes. We are talking about a decimation of American working class life. And I think we have to say that the neoliberal agenda, or class warfare pursued by Reagan, the defeats of the trade union movement over the last 20, 30 years, have worsened American working class life conditions. There's a guy, in response to Plumber Joe, or what the bloody bloke's name was, the UAE, the United Auto Workers, put out a man called Clarence Hope, deserves hope. This man's just lost his job, he's a tyre fitter in Detroit, and he has 4 jobs to pay for his own. 4 jobs. And I thought that must be completely extreme. There's some statistics say that something between 10 and 13% of American workers have more than 3 jobs to keep getting spent. 13%. Unbelievable statistic. Again, the economic policy unit for the Senate says that from 5 years, from 2001 to 2006, the US economy grew in size from $9.8 trillion to $11.2 trillion. That's an increase in real terms of something like 14%. Productivity, the measure of output per worker, grew by 16.6%. But over that same period, an average family income wage fell by 2.9%. American workers were 16% more productive, the 20% increase in profits, but American workers' livelihoods fell by 2.9%. I found this in the New York Times. This is what it said. This is only last month. Income for the median household will be lower than it was, amazingly, a full decade earlier in America. This hasn't happened since the 1930s. Already, the median pay is slightly lower than it was in 2000, and by 2010, it will end up 5% lower than its rate in 2000. So 10 years on, American workers have fallen, their wages have fallen, actually from the point of 2 to 2000. Again, this is from the Senate Commission. 26.4% of Americans live on poverty wages, and you can't extract race from class in America. The fact is that American blacks are 3 times more likely to be unemployed. If you go to youth, it's 12 black youth between 18 and 26, it's 11 times. The same is true of Hispanic and workers as well. The question of race and class openly collide together. Last year, I was driving around Georgia in Atlanta, and I took a wrong turning. And I ended up in this kind of a Brookside Close type thing. There were like 8 condo houses. And all of them were for sale signs in the gardens. And everyone was loading up their U-Haul vans. And I said to this guy, what are you doing? And he said, we've had our own repossessed, all of us. I said, what, everyone? He goes, everyone has had their own repossessed. They're actually poor black and white workers. And I went back and I thought, I better look up the statistics. 1 million Americans lost their homes last year, out of a population of 266 million. This year, it's 2 million. They say next year it may raise to 3 million. This is a destruction of working class people's lives. And when you say America wants change, that was one aspect of Obama's campaign, the economy, the crisis. The other was the war, the imperialist war of America. And war is a very important question in Britain. But in America, it just seeps through your life completely. I just want to give you just a couple of examples of that. When you go through Atlanta Airport, there are 3 main hubs where American soldiers go through: Atlanta, Los Angeles and Chicago. You go there any day and you'll see literally thousands of soldiers coming to or coming back from Afghanistan or Iraq. And you see the coffins coming off every single week. And they talk openly about what they feel about the war. That number of soldiers impacts massively in terms of people's lives. I took my mum to New York in September. And we done the kind of thing you do. You get on a boat around New York Harbour. It's a fantastic journey. It's a very interesting thing. I don't recommend it to anybody. What I didn't realise is that for every time a soldier is killed in an American state, their flag goes down up to half-mast. And we're on this tourist boat, and someone said, I was looking over at New Jersey, he said, why is the flag at half-mast? And the captain of the ship went, oh, it's because a soldier died at least a month ago, up to a month ago. And he went, oh, right. We went past Queens. The flag was half-mast. What's it? It's because another soldier died last month. We go round in Harlem, into Brooklyn. Same thing. And you feel the pain and anger of that war. And the desire for people to end that war is absolutely massive. And herein, I think, lies the contradiction. A couple of months ago, I probably wouldn't have heard it, I was asked to appear on a radio station about Obama. They wanted a Limeys view of the election results. Which I know the term Limeys since I've had an idiot battle in victim magazines when I was a kid, but Limeys is a term for an English person's view of the war. And I was on this radio station, I was one of 3 guests. One was a black woman in the late 60s, civil rights supporter, and the other was a Pennsylvania steelworker. And they asked this black woman, what do you think Obama's going to achieve now he's won? She said this: he's going to end the war in Iraq, he's going to end racism in America, and he'll end the war in Afghanistan. I thought, oh God. He never said that. He never said anything like it. Then I asked the white steelworker. He said, yes, he's going to do all those things, and every American worker is going to have a job, and also we're going to have a national health service, socialised medical care service for every American. And then I asked me, what did I think? He said. And I looked around and I thought, what did you say? Did you say these people are start waving mad, like crazy lunatics? He never said anything like it. In fact, he said he was going to go to Afghanistan and invade Afghanistan. That's what he said. I mean, a big surge in Afghanistan. He said he wasn't going to have a socialised medical care. He said Clinton couldn't produce it and he wasn't going to do the same thing. And therefore, I think when Obama talks about hope, progress, what he does is people project onto him what they believe hope, change and progress is. And by doing so, he raises expectations massively. At the same time, I think it's very, very important we understand there's a deep contradiction. Because Brian read out from the biography, and he didn't quite quote right, but in good old Brian style, he only used laughter quote. And I think he used the entire quote. So let's get to it. Brian done the negative, but this is what he also says in the sentences before, which I think are quite important. He says, what does he say? He says it here. I am angry about politics that consistently favour the wealthy and powerful over above average Americans. I insist that government has to important role and open up opportunity for every single person. I believe in evolution, scientific inquiry and global warming. He then talks about exactly what Brian says, why you need that. In other words, he says something to everybody. He says something to absolutely everybody, and therefore we have to understand quite what's going on. And we can't get away with pushing out from outside the Democratic Party's whole strategy, whole being, if you like. You see, it's almost a link in itself. I haven't got time to stress this, but I want to make a couple of points about it. The Democratic Party in America is the twin party of US capitalism. Always has been, and as far as I'm concerned, always will be. I don't believe there's a reform strategy for the Democratic Party. Just to give you 2 statistics which I think will help do that. First of all, Obama's election campaign.